Okay, here we are. I've got this small 5 by 7 piece of paper and my, you can see my paint there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you very quickly how I paint something negatively. And all that means is you don't paint the item, you paint around it. And yes, you may eventually paint it, but usually you leave it until last. And so let's just do something very quickly. I'm just getting my paintbrush wet over here. And we'll just put some color in. And you can probably see some light color there. And that's raw sienna and cerulean. And just do a little bit of this, like this. And that kind of looks like a tree there. And do some woods. And I like to work with opposites in terms of the colors in both their temperature and value. So right now we're going to, of course, we're going to start just light and put in some trees, or we don't really put in trees. What we put in is shapes that appear to look like trees or remind us of trees. And so that's what we're going to do here. Alright, let's see how that, probably can barely see that on the screen, but they're light colors. Put in some darker ones here so you can see what's going on. All I'm doing really is kind of looking at it and deciding if this were the background, which it is, in a landscape. Wouldn't be real dark because it's further back than what's in the foreground, but it would be different colors because there's some yellows, browns, and a little blue. And so you can kind of get an idea there of what's going on. So I'm just putting this blue in here because I thought I'd put some snow. And I thought we'd make this section, this corner section here, sort of a shadowy area. And we probably will put in a few more of those. That looks pretty dark, so we got to lighten that up. And it looks a little bright, so we're going to cut that back by adding, it's cobalt blue, and now I'm just going to go ahead and add some burnt sienna to it. And make it look like a rock. I was looking to see how dry this was because I can start doing some more shapes by painting around them. Oops, this thing's getting worse and worse. Here we go. So, let's see, can you see it close? Let's see if I can get that closer to you. You can see the little negative trees here. See, there we are. They will be trees eventually. Right now this is the first pass, and so later I'll come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, here you can see I made another pass over all the, I've been doing glazes, so I let it dry a little bit, and then I put another glaze over, and each time what I'm doing is I'm defining the trees by painting around them. And I'm using various cool and warm colors so that it makes them stand out against each other. And I just decided to pick this light green. I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, I think. Now, if I decide I don't like something, you know, you can still go back and pull colors out. Like right here, if I decided I wanted to make a tree here, I could make a positive shape by actually pulling out color. And that would be a positive shape. And I could continue to make these negative shapes like this one and this one, because those are painted around. And you just balance your painting with some negatives and positives, and it gives you a great depth, a lot of depth. And that's more interesting than making them all the same. So let's see, maybe I could put one back here. I don't like to make too much interest in the corners, but let's see if I can get this camera up right. The angle's just a little bit bad here. Let me see if I can get it up here. Okay, so you can see I have this here. I'm holding it now, so it might be a little wobbly. You can see I'm putting the color, and it's a reddish, like a burnt sienna, right next to the green. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint around this green until it looks like a tree. Okay, and it looks a little messy at this moment, but that's okay. And I'm going to go ahead and clean that edge up by losing it. So now that looks like a tree there, or a tree trunk. And I just try to balance the entire piece by going back and forth. This right here looks a little nondescript, so maybe with some of that reddish brown, we'll put some reddish brown there and there. Now, one thing happens when you're doing these negative shapes. Sometimes you just end up doing them all the same, you know, like one long thing, and which represents the trunk, and then a branch to the right. So you have to be careful about not repeating too many of the same shapes. You want repeats, that's a good thing. But you don't want so many that it just looks mechanical. And I guess this could look like a rock, so we could probably leave that. And we'll come down here. And there's another negative shape, so I'll leave that, and I'll come down here. And now, if you notice this whole thing, it's getting a little red. So we're going to go back to the greens, and we'll put some in there. That's a little bright, so we'll tone that down. It's hard to paint with this camera because I'm the only person here, so I have to paint. And also, of course, I have a yellow lab sitting under my feet because he likes to be right next to me. So we're doing all these things at once. And now this is getting so wet that it's best if it just sit for a while. And I'm going to pull out some color here and see if we can make some shapes right, I think right here. The other thing too, and I haven't done it, I've been using the same exact brush for the whole thing, is you can use different shaped or different sized brushes and get different shaped trees. And you could use a fan brush if you want and make a lot of little like bushes. So that all that is interesting. It provides interest because it's different sizes, shapes, and marks. The marks are all different. And so that makes a very nice, playful, and interesting background to, say, a snow scene. You can see I just did a little bit of modeling on the snow there, only to give you an idea of how to make these negative shaped trees for the background of a painting. And if you don't like this much color, you don't have to put that much color in. You could just use 2 or 3 colors and make them, say, misty blue, gray, the whole thing. And that also is very nice. It looks very nice. So try it. Negative shapes are fun, and I think it provides a lot of interest for the viewer.